I did not know what a whiteout was, but I found out rather quickly. The mist began to set in at a rate that was very rapid. All of a sudden, I found myself in the middle of what seemed like a white cloud.
The first thing that's very important to know is that sailing is very simple and very logical. And if you look at it that way, you'll start to see how simple it really is.
Okay, shall we?
Okay, how you find the wind is you turn your head until you can feel the wind on your two ears and your nose.
That's this way.
That's right. The wind is from the southeast, excuse me, from the southeast.
Okay. Good evening, I'm Brian Madden. On the river this time, we're going to be visiting with Elizabeth Mowry. She is an artist who paints the Hudson River, but she is not of the Hudson River School of Painting. Those are 19th century style painters. And we're going to be sailing with Captain Martha Ward. We call her Marty. She's going to take us out on the Hudson and show us how to jib and jibe right here on the river. For the remainder of this month of September, Vassar College in Poughkeepsie has an exhibit of paintings by artists whose style is known as the Hudson River School. It's a style that keeps the flavor of the 19th century painters who used the river as their inspiration. Tonight, we'll see the river as painted by someone who has chosen her own style, though, as you'll see, the subject is the same.
Experiences of the past play a role in what we do at the present and how we go about doing it. So that my past played a very important role in this project. Some of my fondest memories were fishing with my father, through the ice also. During my teenage years, I swam at the Kingston Point Beach with my peers, also rode the ferry to Rhinecliff. Those were important memories.
Meet artist Elizabeth Mowry, whose pastels celebrate the magnificence of the Hudson River.
I even went to places that earlier Hudson River painters had painted. The common theme, of course, the reality in each painting was the river itself, but the mood was mine.
A most ambitious project, the Hudson River of the 80s, a series of 36 works depicting the river from vantage points beginning at Lake Tier of the Clouds to the Statue of Liberty in Upper New York Bay.
I would like for my paintings to represent the positive side. Rather than perpetuate the ugliness, we can hope that that part will, in time, disappear, and that the beauty is emphasized. So I'm a very gentle person, and it would be more true to my nature to represent beauty and the positive part of all of that.
Mowry began the project in January of 1985. Soon it became an all-consuming project for the next 14 months.
It became, in a very short while, an obsession. I became intrigued, the enthusiasm grew, the excitement grew. It was a wonderful learning experience for me. And I started in my own area of the Hudson, the Rondout, grounds of the Vanderbilt Mansion. And then I began to realize that the project would need more expansion, and that I would travel up the river and then down the river toward New York City.
Mowry says she believes there must be an impression before expression. This necessity to know her subject before committing to canvas prompted her to climb Mount Marcy, take sailing lessons, trample along the banks on both shores, as well as venturing out onto the river.
Later on, after I started the project and wanted to learn more, I took sailing lessons to experience being on the river itself. People took me for rides on the Spindrift, which is an antique boat that goes up and down the Hudson, and friends of mine owned that, so they had me along on several of those trips so that I could experience what it felt like to be on the river. And the vantage points of lighthouses and bridges are different in an exciting way. So people were very, very helpful, and it was just wonderful. I also began to realize how much I didn't know about the river that I wanted to know. The fruit growing region, I felt at one point, had to be represented. I didn't know anything about shad fishing. I had never eaten shad until last year. And so I didn't feel that it was right for me to just go out and paint shad fishermen, and it comes back again to impression before expression. So I wanted to learn, and I did, and it was wonderful.
And learn she did. Elizabeth Mowry went so far as to conquer Mount Marcy in her quest to find and paint the source of the Hudson.
I did already know that Lake Tier of the Clouds is the source of the Hudson. I felt that it was an experience that I wanted very much to have of my own, and I decided that it was something that I must do. 2/3 of the paintings had already been completed, so this was, to me, a major part of the work, and I didn't want to have the information secondhand.
She may not be as rugged as a lot of other mountain climbers, but this lady is determined, and her desire overcame her fear.
I stayed the night before with a friend in Lake Placid so that I could be at the foot of the mountain at 5:30 in the morning, because by October the time had changed already. And I knew that it was a long hike and that I had to be out of the woods by dark. So at 6 o'clock I began the hike, and the week before the weather had been very rainy. The prediction for the day that I was doing this was also not good, but it was the day that I had set aside to do it, and my determination level was high. And I had been warned of the weather prediction. I had also been warned that the weather can change very quickly at Mount Marcy, as well as other upper Adirondack mountains. I think that I listened, but was still determined to do this. All was well until near the top of Mount Marcy, which is the highest mountain in New York State. Then what occurred was what people call a whiteout. I did not know what a whiteout was, but I found out rather quickly. The mist began to set in at a rate that was very rapid. All of a sudden I found myself in the middle of what seemed like a white cloud. I was at this point it was very, very rocky because I was already at the top. I couldn't see the markings on the rock any longer, so I literally had to crawl the last part to reach the summit. But I did reach it about 11:30, and I was not only out of breath, but I think frightened at this point. I knew that I wanted to reach the summit. I wanted to get to Lake Tier of the Clouds. Lake Tier is on the other side of Mount Marcy, so that I had to reach the summit first. Lake Tier of the Clouds is a tiny pond that's lovely, but it is nevertheless a pond. But My arrival at the bottom of the mountain was a sight that you would not want to photograph. I was muddy up past the knees, soaked with perspiration from the climb, and with the mist that was continuous all day long. But I'll never forget it. It was a feeling of accomplishment, and I felt very good about doing that. I felt that I had the right then to paint that picture, the first one of the series.
Elizabeth Mowry, an artist who apparently has earned her right to paint the river. Have you ever been curious what it's like to sail on the Hudson River? How do you do it? We've come to Mowry Point, which is in Statsburg on the east bank of the Hudson, where Martha Ward has her class. Call her Marty, though. After 3 summers of traveling the Hudson aboard her yacht, Captain Martha Ward fell in love with the beauty and the constant challenge the river provided. And seeing a definite need, Marty found Shearwater Cruises and Sailing School in 1980, making Mowry Point her new home.
For 18 years, I never thought I could learn how to sail. I always thought it was too technical and that I was too stupid and I could just never figure it out. And then I started to realize that, like many technical things, if you break them down into simple, logical steps, you can learn them. So then I just gradually started to gain a little bit of confidence and started doing it from there.
And now you're writing a book about it.
Yep, I'm writing a book called Just the Basics, which will be without all that technical jargon, so that even if you've never sailed, you're going to be able to read the book and have fun. What I learned is that a perfect day is just having a good time and being safe, so that if it takes 20 minutes to put up the Genoa and 3 times to get to the dock, as long as you did and had a good time, then that's perfect.
Once aboard Genesis, a 28-foot Sabre sailboat, we would see if Captain Marty could turn this landlubber into a sailor.
Basically, a rule of thumb is if it's very steep along the shoreline, then it'll be deep under you. And if the lawn or beach is coming out at you, then it will be very shallow under you. And that rule holds true here on the river. Most of the rivers is very cliffy. But there are places like up by the Esopus Meadow Lighthouse that's only 2 feet deep. And I will admit that I've been stuck there with my bow stuck and my depth finder reading 32 feet. So it was as if I'd gone into a cliff. And so there are few shallow places, but where they are shallow, they are extremely shallow, and you should proceed with great caution, because the river can go from 60 feet to 40 feet to 20 feet to 2 feet very quickly. So you have to be always, a sailor always has their chart at hand, even though you know where the buoys are and that it's red right returning, and you should always have your chart, even after you've checked the buoys, just to make sure.
Why the Hudson River?
For me?
Yeah.
Because it's the body of water where I live near, and also because I grew to love her from living on her for 3 years on a 70-foot Mathis motor yacht. I lived on the Rondout Creek and had a 2-year-old son at the time, and we had lots of adventures on the river. So I love the river.
Marty, who holds a 100-ton U.S. Coast Guard captain's license, started learning to sail in 1964.
Twice I came back from Bermuda on the 41-foot Concordia Harrier, and those were both 5-day voyages. That was very exciting, staying up 24 hours. You know, you'd go on 4-hour watches. The Caribbean, Bahamas, Maine, Long Island, Block Island, Narragansett Bay. A lot of time was spent when I was younger racing, so it was great fun.
Simple and logical. That's the captain's motto. In a book she's writing, Just the Basics, Marty explains how anyone can learn to sail.
Okay, the first thing that's very important to know is that sailing is very simple and very logical. And if you look at it that way, you'll start to see how simple it really is.
Okay?
Okay, how you find the wind is you turn your head until you can feel the wind on your 2 ears and your nose.
That's this way.
That's right. The wind is from the southeast, excuse me, from the southeast. Okay, so logically, in order to get to the mainsail, which is the first sail we put up, we have to take the sail cover off. So if you'd unzip it. Now the line that hauls the sail up is called the halyard, and that's clipped to the base of the mast here. So if you would unclip it, just turn it halfway around. See the...
Oh, this one.
Actually...
I can tell you're dealing with a novice.
Okay, and hook it in the front hole of the mainsail. Okay, what you're going to look for is one wrinkle along the front edge of the mainsail.
Yeah.
All right, so we don't quite have it, so a little harder. Okay, good. That's fine.
Okay, we got
See
it.
it?
Yep.
Okay, go around. You're going to take this, go around the cleat clockwise once, and then a figure 8. Anyway.
Figure 8.
8 up to the top. And then a half hitch. You just take it in your 2 fingers and fold it on itself. Wait, if you do it to the top, it's easier. This way. Okay? Okay, then you're going to coil up the line. Do it about a hand's length apart.
Okay.
Whoop.
What's the wires?
I'll let you go around me. How's that? There we are.
It's a little noisy out here.
It's windy. Okay, now you're going to reach through, grab the standing piece, and you have a hook. Great.
Clever.
Mainsail's up. Okay, now we need to put up the headsail. There are 2 kinds. There's a Genoa and there's a jib. A jib is a smaller sail and a Genoa is the larger sail. And there are many opposites in sailing. So the more the wind, the less the sail. The less the wind, the more the sail. Okay, so there's a lot of wind today, so we'd want a smaller sail. We'd want the jib. I would put up the storm jib on a day like today, so we need to get the storm jib from below. All right. What you're going to do is look for the tack of the sail, which is the bottom of the sail, and the sailmaker helps you because he puts his insignia on the bottom. It's the widest part with a Hanks on it.
All right.
Not George, not Pete, but Hank.
Okay.
Okay. You're going to take this, in this case it's called a pennant, and put it on the snap shackle, which is in the bow pulpit.
Snapshot.
Snap shackle in the bow pulpit.
Right here.
Yep, pull the pin.
Oh.
And then just hank the clips onto the headstay, which is the front wire. That's right. Make sure they all go in the same direction so that you don't have a twist in your sail. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is run what are called the sheets. So now when you're 3 sheets to the wind, you don't have to worry anymore.
Okay.
All right? And each sheet for the different sails are led differently, but these sheets are led between those wires, which are called stays, because you want the mast to stay up. Once you've learned to do it on this boat, you can do it on almost any boat.
Okay.
All right? Now you come back and do the same thing you did before with the winch. You're going to stand, I would suggest standing on this side.
All right.
Okay? And then you're going to yo-heave-ho again. And our crew is going to bring us into the center of the wind. Okay.
3, 4.
But yo-heave-ho first, otherwise it can wrap, just by hand.
Oh, I see.
I'm sorry, by hand.
All right.
There you go. Okay, now it goes 3 times around the winch, clockwise.
1, 2, 3.
We use our winch handle. Okay.
Okay.
And you pull and crank, and you're going to look for the same fold along the luff edge of the sail, the front edge, which you have. So you're all set. So go down around the cleat. Whoops, we lost it. Okay.
Down around the cleat.
Down around the cleat. No, right here. Okay, here you go. No, here.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
And then the 8 and the half hitch. Very good. And then you coil it up,
Arm's length.
arm's length.
Okay.
It's good. Then you reach through and hang it up. Very good. Yep, right here. Excellent. Good job. Okay, so the principle here is this. We'll pretend that we're going to Poughkeepsie for dinner, but the wind is from Poughkeepsie, okay, which we're going to call 0.
Okay.
All right? So what you want to be is as close to that 0 point as possible, using the sails as efficiently as possible. Now what the sail is doing is it's called luffing because you're too close to that 0 point. So what you're going to do is fall off of the wind and come to 45 degrees.
All right.
We're hoping that we can do that. Let's see. If we ease up, sometimes if you ease up on the jib. When you're caught in between, it's called being in irons, and that's what we are now. Now we're falling off. There you
Glad
go.
all these terms aren't literal.
That's right. Well, it
Now
does. Now see how the boat's going like this. It's like, have you ever skied?
Nope.
No?
No.
How about ridden a bicycle?
Oh, yes.
Okay. You know how if you're not going fast enough, you can't really turn the bicycle? Well, it's the same thing with a boat. You have to have enough forward momentum in order to be able to turn. All right, now I'm just going to get you organized and then I'm going to let you do it. There you go. Okay, so the wind is from here and you want to be 45 degrees from the wind, like a piece of pie to the wind. Okay, because we're theoretically trying to go to Poughkeepsie for dinner. So we're going to make a zigzag sewing machine stitch down the river. All right, we're going to go this side, and in a minute we're going to tack and go to that side, and eventually we're going to get there. Sorry, you do it.
Okay.
All right, so you want to turn closer to where the wind is from,
Okay.
and then what we're going to do is prepare to come about. So I'm going to tighten this, 3 turns on this one, and what you're going to do is make a big turn in your, as if it was in your car, to 45 degrees on the other side of the wind. Okay, I'm going to let go, and I'm going to trim in on that side, okay, and you're around. That's great. Got it? You getting it?
All right.
Okay. Now we head over to this side.
What are these holes here?
Those are for cups, sodas.
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 Or whatever.
Or whatever, yes.
Okay.
Mimosas fit just fine.
Uh-huh.
If you do well, you get one.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So, you're doing fine. The boat has to get up enough momentum to respond, and then we'll start heading that way. You see how the boat is starting to go this way? The boat always pulls to 0 because of the aerodynamics between the jib and the mainsail. So what you're going to do is just be holding her off of that point because we don't want her to go to 0. So you're just going to hold her at that 45 degrees. So once you get the knack, you'll feel the boat pulling against you, and you can just gently hold the wheel and let the boat pull against your holding.
Okay.
Okay, see how she's going up? So you just gently go that way, and then just hold it. That's it. Now you're getting it. And here comes a puff of wind, so it's going to pull stronger that way, so you just hold it steady. That's it. And she'll pull against you. Like a horse that always wants to go to the barn. You don't want to go to the barn yet.
Not
So
yet.
you say, whoa, ho, girl. Okay, I'm just going to go cleat this down on this side. Okay, and what you want are your sails as close to the center line of the boat as possible so that you can get as close to that 45 degrees as possible. Different boats will point different degrees to that 0 place. The sleeker design of the boat, the closer she'll come to that 45. My other boat, for instance, is a wider boat, a heavier boat, and with a big full keel, so she'll only point about 55. So like a racing boat, you want her to be able to get as close to that Poughkeepsie place as possible so we can have cocktails and dinner sooner. Okay? So that's the whole point of the sails. People will often ask me that, you know, well, why are the sails like this and not some other way? Because it's the only force that we're using right now to get us where we want to go. So we want to be as efficient, use them as efficiently as possible. We could have the sails completely differently and in 2 days get to Poughkeepsie or for breakfast. But if you want to be there for dinner, then you have to use the sails as best as possible to the wind. Okay. As you jibe, what you worry about is the mainsail. You turn gradually to the left, if you would, Brian. And I have it over your head when you're in the middle, where the wind is directly over your head. Keep going to the left.
Keep going left,
Yep,
okay.
very gently. And then I let it immediately out on the other side because you can see it will start to jerk. That's right.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to change the sail up forward.
Captain Ward has been able to adapt her method to teaching handicapped people to sail. She says it's the first such program in the Hudson Valley and a wonderful opportunity for her students to expand their abilities in a very special way.
I've been able to adjust my teaching style to all levels, people from 72 down to 9-year-olds, and also mildly retarded and autistic children have learned really what I teach them in addition to sailing is really logic and self-confidence, to come out and realize that within them they really can learn and accomplish things they never felt they could. And that's what I think is important. I really do that with all of my lessons, but particularly for them perhaps. It's vital. And the children have done extremely well in the program and have learned to really think for themselves and to be able to perform the skills by thinking it out. I'll say, what do you think you ought to do? And then they will go and do it. This is a program, it's the only program like this in the Hudson River Valley. And although riding has been used and other sports, sailing, it's a very new concept, and there is no other program like it in this area.
So you sail how many days a year? Do you know?
I sail, my business runs from May 1st to October 31st. So I've been sailing probably 5 to 7 days a week during the summer.
That's pretty busy.
Yeah.
And you have special tours. You have midweek tours. You have daily lessons. You really make use
Yes.
of this boat.
What I have is lessons, bareboat charters, and also 2-hour, 4-hour, and 8-hour tours of the Hudson. You can call and ask for a lobster and champagne dinner, or just hors d'oeuvres and wine, whichever you'd like you can have.
What kind of money are we talking about?
For the regular tour, it's like $18 per person, which includes light refreshments, say mimosas, champagne and orange juice, wine and cheese, or light, sodas, that kind of thing. For the lobster and champagne dinner, you're talking in about $34 per person.
Marty believes the only way to learn to sail is to get out of the classroom and onto the water. Under her careful supervision, I was able to guide the boat through the harbor, hoist and trim the sails, and successfully navigate the Hudson. And there we have it for On the River this time around. We visited with the captain and the painter. Next week, we're going to go to the Pirate Canoe Club, and we're going to take a trip on the Rondout Belle. And we welcome you aboard, of course. Thanks for coming aboard this time. We'll see you next week on the river.